Top 5 Bizarre Curses. Number 5. Björketorp Runestone. This is one of a group of runestones found in Blekinge, Sweden, dating back to the 6th century AD. The stones measure up to 4.2 meters in height. Some of the stones appear in circles while others stand alone. The Björketorp stone bears the following inscription. Incessantly, plagued by maleficence, doomed to insidious death, is he who breaks this monument. I prophesy destruction, prophecy of destruction. A local legend relates that the curse was once tested and proved. A very long time ago, a man wanted to remove the stone so as to get more land to cultivate. He piled wood around it in order to heat it up and then crack it with water. The weather was dead calm and there was no wind. He had just lit the fire when a sudden gust of wind turned the direction of the flame, setting the man's hair on fire. He threw himself on the ground to extinguish it, but it spread to his clothes and the poor man died in terrible agony. However, the fire round the runestone was extinguished as if an enormous hand had enveloped the stone and smothered the fire. Number 4. Curse of the Bambino. The Curse of the Bambino refers to the run of bad luck that the Boston Red Sox experienced after trading Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees in 1920. Up until that time, the NY Yankees had never won a World Series, and hoped the truth would change this for them. He did. After the trade, the Boston Red Sox did not win the World Series title again until 2004. During their winning game, a total lunar eclipse occurred, a first for the World Series. Even more dramatic was the fact that the 2004 win was against the New York Yankees. Number 3. Curse of Tippecanoe. William Henry Harrison won the presidency in 1840 with the slogan, Tippecanoe and Tyler too. This refers to his participation in the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811. 1 year later, he died. From then, until the election of Ronald Reagan in 1980, every president elected in a year ending in a 0 died whilst serving their term. The years and presidents who suffered this curse were: 1840, Harrison, natural causes; 1860, Lincoln, shot; 1880, Garfield, shot; 1900, McKinley, shot; 1920, Harding, natural causes; 1940, Roosevelt, natural causes; and 1960, Kennedy, shot. Interestingly, an assassination attempt was aimed at Reagan. Had it succeeded, he would have died before the end of his first term. Number 2. Curse of Superman. George Reeves committed suicide, and Christopher Reeve became paralyzed after falling from his horse. Other victims often named are Jerry Siegel, and artist Joe Shuster, who created the character but made very little money from it because DC Comics, their employer, held all the rights. The Superman curse refers to the misfortunes that occurred to people involved with the Superman story over the years. Probably the most famous people to have been allegedly afflicted by this curse are George Reeves, who played Superman in the television series, and Christopher Reeve, who played the character in the early movies. Some even say that Jerry and Joe put the curse on the character, because of what they believed was unfair compensation for their work. There is even speculation that John F. Kennedy was a victim of the curse. Shortly before his death, his staff approved a Superman story in which the hero touts the president's physical fitness initiatives, scheduled to be published with an April 1964 cover date. Because of this curse, many actors have refused to play the role of Superman in the latest movie. Number 1. The Curse of the Billy Goat is a curse on the Chicago Cubs that started in 1945. As the story goes, Billy Sianis, a Greek immigrant, had two $7.20 box seat tickets to Game 4 of the 1945 World Series between the Chicago Cubs and the Detroit Tigers, and decided to take along his pet goat, Murphy or Synovia. The goat wore a blanket with a sign pinned to it which read, "We got Detroit's goat." Cyanese and the GOAT were allowed into Wrigley Field and even paraded about on the playing field before the game, before ushers intervened and led them off the field. After a heated argument, both Cyanese and the GOAT were permitted to stay in the stadium occupying the box seat for which he had tickets. Before the game was over, Cyanese and the GOAT were ejected from the stadium at the command of Cubs owner, Philip Knight Wrigley, due to the animal's objectionable odor. Because the Cubs organization had insulted his GOAT, Cyanese was outraged and allegedly placed a curse upon the Cubs, that they would never win another pennant or play in a World Series at Wrigley Field. The Cubs lost Game 4 and eventually the 1945 World Series, prompting Cyanese to write to Wrigley from Greece, saying, "Who stinks now?" Following a third-place finish in the National League in 1946, the Cubs would finish in the league's second division for the next 20 consecutive years. This streak finally ended in 1967, the year after Leo Jurek became the club's manager.